7:09. I call this meeting of the General Government and Public Safety Committee to order. I know attendance has been taken. Comments from citizens?
Yep. On the money that you're supposed to be talking about here, this ARP money or whatever, I know that at last meeting it was discussed there that the attorney suggested that that needs to be done behind closed doors or whatever.
It's not being done behind closed doors. She spoke that, I was asked by 2 or 3 people, that's not gonna be done behind closed doors. It
Well,
was
that's
in a
fine.
closed session, but I understand what you said because we talked through it. She was just, I don't know what, I don't know what, she's thinking about 2 different things, but that's open, there's nothing to discuss. She recommended, and we talked about it in that open forum that night, to do it in the general ledger fund, but it had to be audited as Robert asked us, we should have, that we're transparent. So it's fully audited and a trail, but it opens up, it frees us to have some autonomy with where we go with the money versus having it tied into specific things as things may change, so.
Well, that's what my other question was, is there a completed list now as to where it's going to? Since I wasn't at the last meeting, I didn't know if there was.
No, and there won't be until after April 1, as the board will have to make some decisions on that.
Okay, I wasn't here for the last meeting, so I didn't know, so I just wanted to
No,
check.
still just some ideas.
Okay, thanks.
No, well, I take that back. There are 2 things that were specified by resolution for that money. $55,000 for hazard pay for city employees,
Yeah.
and then $205,000 for the water meter replacement project for water infrastructure. So those things are already designated by resolution.
Thank you.
That's a good question, we had a lot of people asking that.
Any other comments? Moving on to Public Safety, Police Department. Activity reports from your packet. Chief, is there anything you want to point out?
Yeah, the radar trailer is still having fits. We've been in contact with Stalker, and they're not super helpful, so we're still working on that. Enix is pretty good with that stuff, so he's working on that. We're losing 1 part-time employee, but we're likely to pick up another one, so, but basically, yeah, I think things are going okay. Any comments or questions on it?
Is it under warranty? It's not that
I
old.
don't know that much about that. I don't think it's that old, but
No,
it's
I'm
more
saying.
of a software thing we're thinking. I watched the report that it shows it's working, but you got straight zeros across everything,
No,
so.
no,
That's
understood.
actually the second one we've had. They completely replaced it one time for us.
Yeah, so I don't, we're having a tough time getting any answers from them. Now, you can run by it and it'll show you a number, but it's just not accepting the data and printing a report,
We
so.
lose a lot with that.
That's the whole point to it, is to see trends. and-
Right, absolutely. Absolutely. So we're still working with them, and I'll let you know, it's like talking to a brick wall a little bit, but we'll try to figure it out.
If you need help, I'll be glad to make a couple of calls.
Yep.
I'll be glad to help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I haven't got in to make any phone calls yet. I'm letting, the officer handle it that normally deals with them and has a good rapport with them, so
Good.
I'm gonna let that play out a little bit longer just to see
Right.
where we are.
Anything else for the police department? Questions or comments?
There is another thing for the police department in the packet. It's a mutual aid agreement. With Hallsville. You have any comments on that?
So initially, I spoke with the chief down there. He called me one day, and essentially, I don't know the backstory to any of this, but evidently there was some bad blood between certain groups. Like I said, I don't know the backstory. I told him if he needed help to call me. If we needed help and they were the closest, then I'll call him. I mean, that's plain and simple for me. If there's an officer that needs help and I'm able to get there, then I'm willing to send people to do that. And the expectation is also that they would do the same. A few caveats to that would be I don't want a Hallsville up here running around making traffic stops, right? I mean, I don't want that, and I would not expect our officers to be down there doing the same. So it's easy for me, it's pretty black and white. If I need help, I would want them to come help me. And if they need help, I expect to go help them. And that's a common thing between jurisdictions. You just have to, if you're on the radio, you just have to make a request in that. And I don't see that there would be any problem with that. If there was a problem with it, then I would just stop that, you know, if I had issues with it.
And Sydney has reviewed this, and she said that she sees no issue with that. So, this is not for, approval tonight. If, y'all are interested in moving forward with this mutual aid agreement, I bring a resolution to the next meeting.
So does this just kind of protect us if there's ever any issues, formalizes
Mhm.
what Chief's just kind of laid out?
Yes.
You know, obviously, the officers are gonna be responsible for their actions, but I'm not assuming, you know, I'm not going down to assume Hallsville's, public safety responsibilities. It's merely on those instances where something has happened and they need help, and we're the closest.
Yeah.
And now, like I said, it's not uncommon for Columbia to help Boone County, and Boone County to help Hallsville, or there's a bunch of combinations there. But it's not an uncommon practice for cops on the road to help other cops.
Are there any other questions? Moving on to fire department.
So typically, we get the fire department reports the same time they send their payroll and training, so we're off a week, and I don't think we communicated that with Roger, who actually sends the reports, so I will have them next meeting. I do apologize, that was kind of a slide on our part.
I think there was like, if I remember right, 45 medical calls last month, 7 fires and 1 vehicle wreck, I think was what we dealt with in the month of February.
Anything else for fire department? Moving on to other public safety, emergency management.
So I put a memo in the packet, and it's something I'm gonna try to do, every month if there is an update. So emergency management, I talked to Chris Kelly, the Boone County Emergency Management Deputy Director, about maybe doing some tabletop exercises or simulations with, city and, the schools, maybe just some, you know, possible emergency situations. So we're gonna get together, on doing some of those things. I know that they're back to doing some things in person now, so that's something we'll move forward with. The protective, are you ready for protective
Yes.
inspection? Okay. I know we've talked a lot about the Maranatha Church, and, under the understanding that it's been sold and demolition is planned, so. I haven't received the demo permit yet, but, I believe that that's their intention. Maranatha
Oh, yeah,
Church.
yeah, I will check, you know,
That's fine, I can,
I don't know about Cindy, I've got fish in the liquor anyway.
okay.
Moving on to economic development. I don't see anything from the tree right here.
Nothing really changing.
Park board, there's an agenda in minutes. Any questions or comments? Moving on to library board, agenda and minutes. Hearing none, other general government. Draft ordinance for our veterans.
Just wanted to bring this to you so you could see it before we, look for passage on the 28th. The number in this, ordinance is our total amount minus the amount that we've already allocated for those other two items, for the hazard pay and for the water meters. So that equals $601,826.18. And it is my intention to create a specific report monthly, and it may not change some months to the next, depending on what we've spent out of it, but it'll be, it'll show how much money we have in that fund every single month, and what we've used it for, and what is allocated for future projects. And all future projects will be voted on by the board. Any projects, any allocation, so.
Great. Moving on to finance, balance sheet for January 22. Is there anything you want to point out?
No,
Same with the budget report?
yep.
Okay. And treasurer's worksheet? Same.
Yep, that's just a general breakdown of everything else.
Accounts payable over $1,250.
These two park, the Central Bank Park lease payments,
Yes.
are those, I guess,
One is 801 East Whistler and the other one is the rec center, that's the rec center payment. This when we refinance the rec center for the improvements for the pool,
and the smaller one is for
for the east annex.
East Annex,
Mhm.
42,000, so, okay.
That's, we make 2 payments a year, so this is just our March payment. So these annex would pay about 55,000 a year, and then the other, or what's the interest on the other one about? Do you remember?
On, so sorry,
The rec center. It's about 30, it's, I think it's about 30, another 40,000 because the principal we pay a year's 100. So it's about another 40,000, so.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Closed session? Christina, why don't you read us into closed session? You don't have that many meetings left.
During the meeting, the Board of Aldermen may elect to go into closed session and hold a closed vote, and the purpose of such closed session and closed vote shall be, 1, as provided under section 610.0213 of the revised statute of Missouri for hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting a particular employees by a public governmental body.
I have a motion. I have a second. Roll call vote.
Terry Motley,
Yes.
Robert Hudson,
Yes.
David Wilkins,
4.
Christina Stevens,
Yes.
Don Rogers,
4.
Landon Bagley.
Yep.
You're now in closed session. Soon go back to mayor's office.
No.